Hello again, fellow Beachbum traders. We hope that you had a great trading week last week. We hope that you found our weekly game plan from last week helpful to you in your trading. Please let us know if you found our weekly game plan from last week helpful to you in the comments below. And please let us know how your trading went this week. Good or bad, what did you learn? How can we improve our weekly game plans to help you succeed in your trading? Now let's get started preparing our game plan for next week. Hello again, fellow Beachbum traders. We hope you survived and ideally thrived in Mr. Market's Wild Ride Round 2 last week. And now we want to prepare our game plan for the week of August 30th through September 3rd. So we've got a lot to talk about. I will try to talk a little faster and get through this all. We've got some key takeaways from Fed Chairman Powell's Jackson Hole speech and how that impacted the market and how that may impact the market going forward and opportunities that we may have after the Jackson Hole speech. We've also got Hurricane Ida predicted to make landfall near New Orleans as potentially a Cat 4 early Sunday morning, and what impact that may have both on that area and on the market. And then we've got to prepare for Labor Day. So let's just briefly take a look at where the markets ended up on Friday, and then we will talk about some of the key takeaways from Chair Powell's Jackson Hole speech and what that may mean. So we can see the markets all ended up up as of Friday. The NASDAQ was up over 1%, S&P was up almost 1%, and the Dow was up a little more than 0.5%. Next, again, we'll talk about some of the key takeaways from Fed Powell's Jackson Hole speech and see what impact that had on some of the markets. Okay, let's talk about the key takeaways from Fed Chairman Powell's Jackson Hole speech on Friday at 10 a.m. And he did release the summary notes right before 10 a.m. and we'll see what impact that had on the market. But some of the key takeaways is he said there'd be no immediate tapering or rate hikes, but that there may be tapering of their bond purchase program potentially by the end of the year. He also wanted to divorce rate hikes as separate from and after they complete their tapering. So again, we're not expecting immediate tapering, not potentially by the end of the year they will start tapering, and once they finish tapering sometime next year, etc., or in the future, they might start hiking rates. He did acknowledge that there is real inflation in the economy, but he still believes and argues that it's going to be transitory. However, what we're going to see, and I'll show you in investing.com, there'll be a link in the resources in the description box below to investing.com, that right at 10 a.m. when he said that and they released the notes, the market reacted saying there's a risk of inflation. So in investing.com, what you can do if you go to the commodities, real-time commodities page, and then you hover, well, we're going to look at what happened with gold and silver, because gold and silver are often viewed as a hedge against inflation, store value traditionally, and we'll see what happened right at 10 a.m. So if you hover over gold, silver, any of the commodities, and you open the link in another tab, and then I've selected a bar chart, I'm looking at a candlestick chart, 1 minute we could see, boy, right at 10 a.m. gold jumped and ran up to a new plateau during the day, and silver the same way, right at 10 a.m. So both gold and silver made a nice jump right at 10 a.m. What that tells me is the market believes there's going to be real inflation. No matter if they said it's transitory, that's my interpretation of how the market reacted. As you probably have heard in some of the previous game plans, we are long gold and silver. We have the Credit Suisse ETFs that pay monthly dividends. GLDI is the gold. SLVO is the silver. We're also long a number of smaller gold and silver miners. So hopefully this trend will continue and we'll profit from that. Now let's just briefly look at the other futures charts. And actually first I'm going to jump over and see the reaction in the bond market. So if we look at the TLT, which is the 20-year Treasury, again, we'll see how that comment about not tapering right away impacted the bond market. We can see the prices of bonds went up and the yields went down. So the fact that the Fed's going to continue to buy seems to be pushing the price back up, the yield back down, which means we're going to be watching TMV, which is the inverse or the bear ETF on that. So when the prices max out and the yields bottom out somewhere around this 54 support level, we're looking for an opportunity to go long TMV. May take a while, may happen this week, it may take longer, but we're going to be watching an opportunity to go long in TMV. Also, let's just briefly look at the VIX. In FinViz, the symbol to enter for the VIX is at VX. And we can see the VIX dropped. And we'll see that even more pronounced if we jump over to Webull. I'm going to go to my ETF watch list in Webull, for which you'll see a video in the description box below on how to create a watch list in Webull. And again, this is the Webull browser-based platform. You can find our affiliate link to Webull in the description box below. But let's quickly look at the VIX, and we can see that right at 10 a.m. a big drop in the VIX, which had been running up prior to this meeting, but boy, right at 10 a.m. there was a big drop in the VIX. We let the VIX kind of trail off. When it got below this 16 level, we went long UVXY, which is the leveraged ETF, to go long on volatility. So we are now long volatility using UVXY, waiting for the next event that will cause a spike in volatility. At which time, then once the volatility spikes, we can use SVXY to then short the retracement of the volatility. Just a point to note, that often the VIX and UVXY gap up or down and hit a high of day pre-market, often less than 5 a.m., sometimes right at 4 a.m. The VIX and UVXY will gap up or down, spike, and therefore there's an advantage to being able to trade at that time. Not just those, but there are many other stocks that gap up or down right at 4 a.m. And we have a video in production right now. The title's It's 4 a.m. Do you know where your stocks are? So keep an eye out. Please subscribe to our channel, hit the notify so you will get notified when that video comes out. It talks about why I try to get up before the 4 a.m. Webull open, what I look at, what it tells me about the sentiment of the market, and how I play that 4 a.m. Webull open, and what some of the advantages and trading edges you can get by having Webull, so you can start trading at 4 a.m. Again, the link to Webull is in our affiliate link is included in the description box below, so you can see the impact that Fed Chairman Powell's speech had. Right at 10 o'clock, things dramatically changed. The inflation hedges jumped up. The volatility jumped down, and we would expect those trends to continue until something changes to make it change. So next we'll talk about some of the potential impacts of Hurricane Ida and how you might be able to play some of those hurricane impacts. Now let's talk about the approaching Hurricane Ida and how that may impact the markets this week, and also in general, how do we play hurricanes. I am on the NOAA site, noaa.gov, which is the National Hurricane Center. And if you go there, we can see hurricanes in the Atlantic, where they're at, and then we can see specific ones. I'll include a link to the National Hurricane Center in the description box below, so you can use that both for your trading as well as preparing for hurricanes and staying safe through hurricanes. So we're in Florida. We're very familiar with having to bug out for hurricanes and their impact. So again, if we look at Ida, we can see it's currently predicted to hit the Louisiana, New Orleans area as a major hurricane. Last I heard it was potentially a Cat 4. Late Sunday, early Monday is what this says. I heard early Sunday morning, but again, this will be pre-market Sunday or early Monday when it will hit landfall. In terms of preparation for hurricanes, unfortunately, I missed the announcement when they started closing the oil rigs in the Gulf. And when you have a hurricane in the Gulf, they're going to close and evacuate the oil rigs, which obviously is going to impact the supply. And we can see, if we go look at the West Texas Intermediate crude oil futures prices in investing.com, we can see again, I'm not exactly sure, this is a monthly chart, and I'm not sure when they started announcing that they might have to close the oil rigs in the Gulf, but we can see oil started running up, and it's been running up since. The ways to play oil long in that case, where they're closing oil rigs, decreasing supply, would be the Credit Suisse monthly dividend ETF is USOI. The long ETF on oil is GUSH, G-U-S-H. So when you next time you hear there's a hurricane going to threaten the Gulf oil rigs or refineries, you might want to look at longing USOI or GUSH. Now, once this hurricane makes landfall and passes and they start to reopen those oil rigs in the Gulf and therefore increase supply again, we would expect GUSH to top out and potentially oil to drop. So we'll be listening for when do those oil rigs start coming back online, when do the refineries come back online, look for a top in oil, and then we can short oil using DRIP, D-R-I-P, to short oil. The other event that's coming next week is there's an OPEC meeting next week. If they decide to increase supply, which they increased supply just a little bit in their last meeting after a stall in a decision, but if they increase supply, then again that would be downward pressure on the oil price, potential short opportunity using DRIP. So we're going to be listening to for those events and watching oil to see when the price tops out and looking for an opportunity to short oil using DRIP. The other thing with hurricanes is power outages. And there are a couple generator related stocks that we can look at that have run up in the past based on power outages. One is PPSI, Pioneer Power. If I look at this back last October, which I believe was the time that the hurricane hit the Houston area, the Texas area, we can see PPSI spiked up. It's a little bit high right now, so I'm not overly excited about PPSI. Another one is Generac, GNRC. Again, it's kind of high. Very popular one, but it's very high. I'm not sure that it's worth chasing that one right now. One that we already own in that space is Pola, P-O-L-A. and it is still, in my opinion, at a reasonable price and might be an opportunity. It hasn't moved a whole lot yet, but if we get broad scale power outages, we might see a spike in POLA again. It did spike a little bit last October with PPSI. So those are some individual opportunities that we might see coming out of the Hurricane Ida landfall. Next we'll talk about the indices and some of the commodities and how we might be able to play those. And then I want to share with you another watch list I've created, and we can talk about some long-term cycles. If you happen to be a longer-term investor, there might be some opportunities here for you. And then again, we'll wrap it up with changes to our watch list for our game plan for this week. Now, if we look at the Futures tab in finviz.com, which again you can find our affiliate link to finviz.com in the description box below, we see longer term trends on the indices. The S&P and the NASDAQ both are at record highs again. We already had short positions on both the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ. The ETF to short the S&P 500 is SPXU, and the ETF to short the NASDAQ is SQQQ. And again, we've had a short position on the indices. Our philosophy is it's a hedge or an insurance policy against a more severe decline or a market crash in the indices. So if those indices go down, 1, 5, 10, 20%, we would make 5, 10, 20% in profit on those short positions, and the probability of them going down, that percentage is higher than them jumping up that percentage in a short time frame. So if we get a correction, a couple percent, we might scalp that off, wait for it to return. In a second, we're going to look at the channel that the NASDAQ is in and what that might imply. We can see the Dow has not reached its record high again. So we are going to be waiting for the Dow to potentially hit a new record high or touch its current record high, at which point we will go long the ETF to short the Dow as well, which is SDOW. So on our watch list we have SDOW. If I jump over to Webull and we look at that in more detail in my ETF watch list, we can see it's approaching a bottom. The current bottom for SDOW is $29.40, corresponding to the last record high in the Dow. So we would be looking for something in that area, or for it to break down below $29.40, at which point we would go long SDOW. So now let's just briefly look at the channel that the Qs are in, and what that means. As you can see, the NASDAQ index, which is the ETF for that, is QQQ. It's in an upwardly trending channel, and it's running along the top of the trend line of that channel. Now, if you look at the SPY, it looks very similar. It's also running along the top of the upper trend line of its channel. And you can see these tend to hit the upper trend line of the channel and then bounce down, hit the lower trend line, bounce back up. So again, we're kind of playing this channel. When it hits the top, we're using the short ETF. When it comes back down to the bottom, then we go long the ETF to long the index again, as long as we're not in a more severe decline, which you can see if you look at a longer term chart what that looks like. The ETF to long the NASDAQ is TQQQ. And again, if we look at the SPY, it looks very similar. Although in FinViz it's kind of showing in the middle of its channel, but if you draw a trend line there, you can see if I were to draw that it's kind of bouncing off the top trend line of its channel. We're expecting it to turn down, bounce off the bottom trend line, and then possibly bounce back up unless there's a more severe market decline. So again, we're short the SPY and the NASDAQ using SPXU for the S&P 500, SQQQ on the NASDAQ, and if we see the Dow top out, hit a new record high, we're going to go short the Dow using SDOW. Next, I'll look at another watch list in Webull, and again, now I wanted to share with you a watch list I've created for 3D printing and how that is kind of a cyclical technology that we've been swing trading for many years, and it seems to be developing some opportunities, particularly if you're a longer term investor. I want to show you what a long-term cycle in some of these technologies look like. So again, if you're a longer term investor, this may be something that you're interested in. This is a technology, and these stocks are something we watch for them to come to a support level, which they do. Sometimes it may take years, every 3 years or so. Sometimes these guys all cycle down, and then we start buying them up again, wait for them to reach the peak of their cycle, and then we scalp them off, sell them as they're swinging down, then we wait for them to bottom to a support level again. So I've created a watch list in Webull for 3D printing stocks, and again, we have created a video for which you can find the link in the description box below about how to create a new watch list in Webull, how you add symbols, stocks to that watch list, and then how you can go to the stock tab and cycle through them. So I've got a number of 3D printing stocks. You'll also hear 3D printing referred to as additive manufacturing. One of the reasons this theme is again possibly getting hot is due to the supply chain disruptions from the COVID and post-virus world, and the disruptions in the supply chain mean having your suppliers in foreign countries can be very disruptive to your business. So we have a series of these. I'll tell you in a second the ones we already own, and then we'll look at a couple of the others. But there's DDD, 3D Systems, Desktop Metals, DM, which is a relatively new, I believe it was a SPAC. It's again relatively new. Materialize, been around a long time. We bought Materialize, I think, first many years ago when it was like $10. NNDM is Nano Dimension. Again, we've held Nano Dimension for a very long time. It was bought up for a while by ARC. They made some very interesting acquisitions in the AI space recently. They do 3D printed electronics, which I find very interesting, and a lot of opportunity, I think, there. SGLB, Sigma Labs, we do not currently own. I'll show, well, there is a support level if we look at it around $3. So it's a little above that right now, so I would be looking at Sigma Labs, SGLB in the $3 range. Stratasys, we've owned a number of times. We've swung that a number of times. We can see somewhere around the 20 to 1911 level is good. It's a little above that right now, so we're not directly watching that right this second, but we're going to see how that one cycles predictably. We do own VJet right now. It's a little bit below its resistance level of 9 or so. It tends to cycle with these other guys, DDD, Stratasys, Materialize, all kind of cycle together. NNDM is a little bit different. They've, like I said, done some acquisitions recently. They did a lot of offerings that suppressed the price. Hopefully that will trend back up as it catches again. So again, I wanted to look at a couple of these long-term cycles so you can kind of see, again, if you're a long-term investor, you can see these long-term cycles and where the opportunities to buy are. This happens to be Stratasys. I'm in finviz.com. I'm on a monthly chart. We can see all the way back to 2011. We can see how these cycle up and down. One of these days I'll probably make a video to discuss what they call the Gartner hype cycle, and how some of these technologies, they get hyped, they peak out, then there's what they call the trough of disillusionment. People set expectations too high, it didn't meet their expectations, and then it declines, and then it actually catches broader institutionalization, broader interest, and then it goes back up. So we can see these guys had, long run-ups. They're very long-term cycles. They come back down. That's an opportunity to buy. It may take several years for them to cycle back up. So again, these are more suitable for a long-term investment. Buy them at the bottom of a cycle, sell them at the top of the cycle. Here's DDD, 3D Systems, very similar. You see the charts are very similar. So again, I wanted to show you that, these are on a very long-term cycle. They all do tend to trend together. So once one recently, DDD had some news, they had positive earnings, it tended to lift all the 3D printing stocks up on that news. So if one of them starts to trend up, there are opportunities. Find the others in that space that haven't started running yet, and there's a good probability you can follow that trend up. When it peaks, there's your opportunity to sell. So I hope that helps. Now just to wrap up with our watch list for this week, and then we'll close out. Now I'd just like to talk about and show you how to make changes to the watch list in Webull, and the changes that we've made for our watch list going into next week for August 30th through September 3rd. I'm in Webull again, and I've got my watch list. This is just my weekly watch list that I maintain, and since I was going to do some maintenance on it, I thought I'd show you how to remove items from your watch list. It's really quick and easy. We removed DTST because, as you can see, it ran away from us. We didn't catch it. Hopefully some of you caught it before it started to run away. If you did, please add that to the comments below. Let us know that you got it and are making some profit on it. That would be great. But it's easy to remove something from a watch list in Webull. You just select it, right click on it, say delete. So isn't that easy? You can see I've added SDOW because we're going to be watching that for a top in the Dow. I've added TMV, which again we're waiting for a peak in the prices to the treasuries. Once that price peaks, TMV should bottom, and then we would go long TMV. We kind of missed the run up in oil due to the oil rig closures in the Gulf due to Ida, so I'll remove that. I mentioned we are already long UVXY, which is the long on volatility, so I will remove that. And again, WWR ran away from us. So if you caught WWR down before it ran up, great, let us know. We're going to wait for it to come back down, which this one tends to cycle a lot, so there will be plenty of opportunities. So for now, since it's up, we're going to remove WWR. Haven't really found a lot of other individual stocks that are good values right now. Most things are high or risky, their cash position, so we're still kind of being careful in terms of a potential downturn in the market, particularly going into September, and we'll talk more about September, what that means for the markets next week. So you really have to be nimble and look for opportunities. We will be monitoring the markets and on a daily basis reevaluating. If we see an opportunity, something that becomes a value, we will add it to the watch list. We will add comments underneath this video to let you know any changes to the watch list that we make during this week. So please subscribe to the channel, click the bell icon to be notified, so you know when we're coming out with new videos, when we're making changes to the comments, to the watch list, and we'll be waiting for and taking advantage of good value opportunities if we get a dip, and we hope you will as well. Please let us know anything we can do to help you or to improve these weekly game plans for you, and we wish you good luck, and we hope you have a great trading week. Bye. We hope that you like our weekly game plan for the trading week for this week. Thank you for watching the video to the end. If you found this helpful, we hope that you will choose to subscribe to our Beachbum Trading YouTube channel, and please click the bell icon below to automatically be notified whenever we publish a new video. Please also share this with your fellow traders and friends via the share button included below. And let us know if you found our weekly game plans helpful in the comments included below. And let us know how we can improve. What would you like to see more, less of, etc. Thank you again for watching. Good luck and have a great trading week.